This video is presented by ICS Business Box and will demonstrate the use of Batch Meister Wizard within IronSpeed Designer. ICS Business Box, putting the cloud at the heart of your business. The topic of the presentation is Batch Meister Wizard within IronSpeed Designer. The presenter is IronSpeed MVP James Gallagher. Any questions following this presentation, please contact James at the following address: james.gallagher@hcsgroup.net. First of all, what is Batch Meister Wizard? Batch Meister Wizard is a tool within the IronSpeed Designer tool, which will inject commonly used application where clause logic and/or formula across your entire application without having to write the code. Why would you use it? Batch Meister Wizard is a mechanism to apply a common piece of code across the application and be assured that nowhere has been missed. What are the typical examples? You can use Batch Meister Wizard to create audit trail fields and ensure they are populated always. You can use Batch Meister Wizard to assign common validation code, again application wide. You can use Batch Meister Wizard to assign a common where clause restriction, again application wide. This is a huge time saver to any developer, as there's no need to manually insert the same code many times, and it also avoids the scope for typos and mistakes due to, for example, copy and paste. Therefore, Batch Meister Wizard can be used to implement the same repetitive piece of code many times across your application. Batch Meister Wizard has three typical modes of use, and I'll explain them as follows. Field initialization. You can use the field initialization features of Batch Meister in order to set common fields across the tables of your application to a default value, or a default value based on some logic or some formulae. I'll go into more depth on that in a minute. You can also use it to apply field validation across your application. For example, there may be a typical relationship between dates that always exists in your application. For example, a date must always be in the past or must always be in the future. The Batch Meister Wizard will allow you to implement the rules for inserting that validation code across your application. The Batch Meister Wizard can also be used to insert a global where clause across the application. For example, there may be examples where your logged in user may always only have access to certain data, and you want to filter it based on credentials associated with their login. The Batch Meister Wizard can be used to achieve this. In the examples I give, I will show you how we always filter out active data, and how we supply a security check application wide. Okay, before I go into the Batch Meister Wizard, I'll explain a little bit about the table structure that we have. I'm going to demonstrate a sales CRM page, or some sales CRM pages from our product Business Box. Business Box is a product we've built entirely in IronSpeed, and we've enjoyed some commercial success over the last few years. We put down the commercial success to the reliability of the code coming out of IronSpeed. It lets you get on with implementing application logic without worrying about trivial bugs that would often normally take up a developer's time. Okay, if I draw your attention to this table, sales lead. Sales lead captures the data you might normally associate it with any sales lead in a CRM. If I draw your attention to the bottom of the table, you will notice there are some fields: created date, created user, last modified date, last modified user, is active, security clearance. part of the design of Business Box is that these fields, we term them, or we call them audit fields. These fields are applied on every table that exists in the Business Box application. This allows us to, application-wide, assign creation dates and last modified dates based on record creation, record access. Batch Meister Wizard allows us to implement some formula that would implement such functionality without having to worry about always catching the points in the application where the code must be inserted. You can think of Batch Meister as a means of inserting code or injecting code throughout your application. Because it's under the control of IronSpeed, the developer does not need to constantly have to keep the application code up to date with the validation or the field initialization, for example. Okay, so I've explained the fields. These fields, in order to use Batch Meister, you need to name the fields commonly across all tables. So, as I mentioned earlier, we have fields created date, created user, last modified date, and user is active, security clearance, which are present on all tables in the application. Okay, I'm going to now show you the login page of our application. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to show you how you would use Batch Meister with an IronSpeed Designer. Okay, Batch Meister lives on the Tools menu, Batch Meister Wizard. Fairly easy to understand. There are three tabs: initialize, validate, and where. We'll examine the initialize tab first. Let's take a look at created user. I'll go into edit, although typically you would have to go through the add button if you're adding this new. So this drop down is looking at all fields in your application. As I mentioned, in order to use Batch Meister across all tables, you have to name fields commonly to apply the same application logic. So in this case, we have a field created user. We create a validation rule for inserting, i.e. for record creation, and we are inserting it to the IronSpeed formula user ID, which will pick off the user ID associated with the logged in user, and will use the security model that has been defined by the application developer for IronSpeed. There's more to say on security model in a later presentation. If I look at last modified date, we are saying that the last modified date field, or whenever an update occurs, we call the IronSpeed formula now. Now, unlike now, is similar to date, is similar to today. However, now has a timestamp on it, so that allows us to capture date and timestamp of the record modification. A very useful tool. We have initialize when inserting created date. So the field is created date, initialize when inserting, and the formula again now, which I explained the usage of a moment ago. Finally, we have last modified user, initialize when updating last modified user. Last modified user, the last modified user column is written to on an update, and again we write the user ID, which is the user ID of the logged in user. If I just drop into an example of the usage of that, I'll now show the application. Okay, this is the login screen of our product Business Box. Okay, this is a landing page. Typically we have landing pages for all the modules of our product. This is the sales landing page. I'll go to this icon, which is picking up all the leads. Okay, so I have some data already created. I'll start by creating a new sales lead. So we go out to the Add Sales Lead page, all standard IronSpeed functionality. We will pick off service offering software, just making some typical fields up here. Let's choose a company, Ultran UK. Next action date, and I need to insert a value there. I'll explain that in a short while. We'll take a contact. Okay. Let's, because it's a CRM, we have, I don't know, 500 employees. Quantity 1. Lead completion date. I'm going to put lead completion date at 31st of August. Okay, I think that should be enough. Let's just put some test details here. I think that should be enough to save the record. Okay, so it has. So as you can see, we now have a record. If I highlight this record, we now have the record company Ultran UK, software, service to offer is software, status is open, which I selected, lead completion date, which I selected. These are the various assignees and contacts. The important point is the creation date has been set to this to the current date and time, 20th of August 2013, 2302, and that creation date has been set by using the functionality of the Batch Meister Wizard. Okay, if I now go into this record, I am now going to modify something on the record, so let me just modify the heat. Let me modify something else. Position, technical director. And some more details. Save that. What we should now see is the last modified date has also been updated due to the modification that's been made. In this case, again, the same date and time, same date as the creation, but also the last modified is now 2303, albeit a minute later, but it's different. You see the point. Okay, that's the demonstration of field initialization through Batch Meister Wizard. Okay, let's look at our next facility. The next facility would be common validation across the application. Okay, so I have defined two validations, and I'll explain them. Actually, it's validation on both the insert and the update. So I think I can explain the update because I'm going to demonstrate it in the edit sales lead page. If we go into the declaration, so I have a field next action date. I want to apply some common formula to next action date. So I use this if statement here, which is using iron speed formula. So if next action date less than today, then it gives a warning message. Next action date must be in the future. Else there's no warning message. The validation is passed and the record is saved. That means, so I will demonstrate in this next page, by setting next action date to sometime in the past, you will see the warning message. It's worth saying if next action date, the field next action date is bound on any other page, then the same formula will apply on that page because we have used Batch Meister Wizard to apply the formula. In which case the next action date must be in the future, otherwise you'll see the warning that you're about to see now. So let's go into this record. So next action date, I set it earlier, as I mentioned, to sometime in the future. I'm now going to set it to sometime in the past. So I'll set it to a week ago. I'll try and save it. Okay, so as you can see, we now get a warning, which is what we expect. Therefore, the Batch Meister Wizard has implemented the validation successfully, which is great. Okay, the last piece of Batch Meister Wizard, and equally, as powerful as any other piece of Batch Meister Wizard, we can define global where clause logic to employ within the application. So we have, so let's look at isActive equals 1. So as I mentioned at the start of the presentation, we have some auditing fields that we add commonly to all database tables. One of the fields is isActive. We use this field to manage a process that we call soft delete in BusinessBox. That is to say, when a record is deleted from the application, it isn't truly deleted from the database table. We merely set this flag to 0. Then, using Batch Meister, we have a rule, a formula, we have a global where clause which only ever shows isActive equals 1 records. Therefore, we achieve the effect that we only see active records, and by deleting a record, we actually have implemented some code commonly where whenever you delete a record in IronSpeed, you don't actually call delete. You set the isActive value to false and save the record. The effect being that the record disappears from the screen because it's isActive false, and therefore our Batch Meister global where clause is only going to show you isActive equals true records. Let me try to demonstrate some of that. Okay, I'll take you back to show sales lead. Okay, so we created the sales lead a moment ago for the company Altran UK, and you saw some of the features of how fields could be validated and how fields could be initialized and other fields could be validated commonly. I'm now going to delete this record. Actually, first, before I do, let me just show you the record. If I run this query, so this line here, sales lead ID 223. If you may see the details are similar to the are the same as the details I put in earlier. Sales lead 223 is the record that I was demonstrating. I'm now going to delete that record. As I mentioned earlier, we have put some common code across our application to manage soft delete. What that gives us, if we look back in the database, if we look in the database now, if we run this select, so sales lead ID 223, which I showed you earlier, now the isActive flag is 0. If we go back to the application, indeed the sales lead has not appeared on the page. Therefore, we've achieved the effect of soft deleting or removing the record. If I just go back to the query, I'm going to set, just to prove the record is there and it can come back, I'm going to set the isActive flag to 1 again. Okay, let me refresh my page, and the record is back with us. So this is a means that by managing the isActive flag using Batch Meister, we can achieve a soft delete similar to Windows Recycle Bin type of functionality. Okay, the other facility we use the global where clause for is a security clearance check. Let me just go through the declaration of that with you. Okay, so as I mentioned at the start, we have a field security clearance, which is a common field across all of our tables. We are defining the following rule: security clearance less than or equal to the security clearance of the logged in user, which is what is given by that formula: get column value, user table, user ID, security clearance. If I go back to our application, again, let's work with the Altran example. You may have noticed earlier there was a security clearance text box at the bottom. So by default, all records receive a security clearance of 1 and all users receive a security clearance of 1. Therefore the security check passes. If I want to put the value 2 there, I'm going to make this record non-visible. at the show table level. So let me demonstrate that. So as you can see, the logged in user has a security clearance of 1 and the record Ultran UK does not appear. Let me just show you something in the database. If I run this query, this is my logged in user, its security level, its security clearance. Let me adjust the security clearance to something. Let me put it at 3. Okay, I'm back to my page. Refresh. And now I can see the security clearance. Let me go into it. Okay, so as you remember, I set the security clearance to 2. I've set my logged in user security clearance to 3. To further demonstrate the facility, let me set this record security clearance to 4. Save. And again the record Ultran UK disappears. So I think you can see that using the global where clause logic, there are some powerful features that can be implemented using Batch Meister Wizard. And BusinessBox has made extensive use of Batch Meister Wizard over its life cycle over the last few years. Okay, I'd like to conclude the presentation now. If you have any questions on this presentation, feel free to drop me a line at james.gallagher@hcsgroup.net. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Bye.